Welcome to Silverstone for the start of the 2017 Dunlop Endurance Championship. Run by Claire and Rob Headley's Britcar team, this is one of Britain's leading endurance racing championships, and the season opener has attracted a bumper entry of 31 cars. It features a diverse range of GTs, sports cars and saloons, all racing on track together, but each competing for trophies and championship points within their own class. Which of the 5 different classes a car falls into depends not just on its brake horsepower, but a number of other factors, including torque, aerodynamics and any additional technologies fitted to the car, such as modified suspension or traction control. The quickest cars, such as GT3s and sports prototypes, can be found in Class 1, right down to Class 5 for the more standard, production-based cars. But no matter what the speed or performance of your car, everyone has the same chance to win the title by achieving success within their own groupings. The championship structure has been enhanced this year by the introduction of a 2-race format. Each of the 8 rounds will feature a 50-minute race, followed by a 2-hour race. And within the package there will be 2 separate categories, the Endurance Championship and the Sprint Championship. Those contesting the Endurance category will contest both races in full, while those in the Sprint category contest race 1 in full, but only the first 50 minutes of race 2. Most teams choose to have 2 drivers sharing the car, but the new, shorter race durations mean that single driver entries are also permitted. What's more, the majority of events will be run over a single day, helping to reduce expense for the teams. And the season will climax with 2 popular into-the-night meetings at Silverstone and Brands Hatch. Tockwith Motorsports took the 2016 championship by the narrowest of margins, but drivers Nigel Moore and Phil Hansen have now moved on to compete in the European Le Mans Series. However, the family-run squad still features, with Nigel's younger brother, Ed Moore, contesting this year's Sprint Championship in a Ginetta G50. The popular Spanish duo of multiple race winners Javier Morcillo and Manuel Centrano will no doubt be running at the front again this year in their Neil Garner Motorsport run Mosler. And after mixed fortunes in 2016, Callum Lockie and David Mason return in their Ferrari 458 in search of a 3rd title together. Amongst their teammates at FF Course are Bonamy Grimes and international GT ace Johnny Molam, who are back for a 2nd season. Meanwhile, ex-Formula 1 racer Mike Wilds, a race winner at Snetterton last year, will be partnered this weekend by Porsche Carrera Cup GB frontrunner Dino Zamparelli. And there's another current Porsche Carrera Cup GB driver on the grid, as Ross Wiley, who is also a former British GT4 champion, shares the MJC Ferrari with Wittkamski.
Whit, great to see you back in a championship in which you've been involved and had great success in the past.
Yeah, I've not been racing for 2 years, and it is nice to be back.
Just tell us about the successes you've had, particularly in the 24-hour race.
Oh, we have, yeah. We won 2010 24-hour, and then we won the championship here twice, in 2009 and 2010. And after that, it's sort of petered out a bit, but now we're back, so hopefully we'll carry on. We've got a good driver with us.
Is there anywhere around this circuit that's particularly tricky as a driver to sort of nail a really quick lap?
For me, all of it. No, it's just learning. So I've not been here probably for 2 years, so I'm just learning around, getting around again. But it's really exciting. Yeah, it's really fast.
Ross, great to have you here. You've got a busy season this year, haven't you? Racing Porsche Carrera Cup GB and doing this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. It's great to be sharing the car with Whit this weekend, and like you say, I've got quite a busy year jumping between Porsche Carrera Cup, so it's quite difficult in terms of adapting between the 2 cars, but nevertheless it's a great car to be driving this weekend.
What's the biggest change for you when you go from one car to the other?
I think probably the aerodynamics, extra horsepower, and of course the different tyre compound. No ABS, no traction control in Porsche Carrera Cup we have fitted in this car, so it does take a little bit of adjusting, that's for sure.
Reigning and multiple Class 4 champions Moss Motorsport are back for another campaign with their BMW M3, as well as a Class 2 BMW E82, co-driven by team leader Mike Moss. And the Whitebridge Motorsport team will have high hopes for their Class 3 Aston Martin, after former quad bike champion Chris Murphy helped guide them to third place in the overall standings last year. There are plenty of other familiar faces, but also an encouraging number of new teams joining the grid, including a quartet of Class 3 Ginetta G55 GT4 cars from Team Hard, including the number 24 entry of Simon Rudd and Tom Barley.
Great to be here, lovely day, loads of nice cars. Looking forward to getting out there and getting on with it.
And a big presence from Team Hard, 4 cars out.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, 4 cars, nice turnout, some good competition, some good drivers. Hopefully we're at the front.
Just tell us a bit about the Ginetta and its strengths and weaknesses around this circuit.
I think the strengths are the mid-corner speed and the aero that this car's able to generate. Probably straight line power at Silverstone is a downside for this car against the Porsches and co. But overall, fantastic car, certainly enough for me and Simon to get to grips with. I hope we're going to be fighting for some success.
Is there a particular corner or section that is particularly tricky as a driver to handle and to get a quick lap time from?
Turn 1, I think you've got to really be on it. Turn 1, you'll lose so much time there if you're not committed. So that's what we'll be trying for.
So what are you doing into Abbey Corner? Are you down the gears, hard on the brakes, or is that secret?
Secret. Can't give it away. I'll tell you after qualifying.
Tell us a bit about your background racing-wise.
Yeah, so I did VW Cup for 3 years with Tony and Team Hard. Last year we made some good progress, got on the podium, did really well. So we feel like it's now time to take the step up, get into a GT car, and then hopefully that will help progress the career.
When you first got into the Ginetta, the GT car, what was the step up like? Was it a bit of a shock to the system having gone from something totally different from the saloons?
Yeah, it's a completely different car. So firstly the VW was a front wheel drive, so now we've gone to rear wheel drive. And the aero package on the Ginetta it's something else. You have to use that quite a lot, and that's what we learned on Friday, to use that. Also going from the front wheel drive to the rear wheel drive, warming up the car and the tyres is all completely different. So it's been a big learning curve, but the car is awesome to drive. It's brilliant.
And contesting the Sprint Championship, there's also a first full campaign for Rick Nevison in the Class 3 Porsche Cayman, run by Track Focused.
Well, we raced a couple of races last year. We were still novices last year. So we did 2 Britcars, we did 1 here later in the season, and we did Alton Park in the rain at the end of the season. Really enjoyed them. So we decided this year to try and get the full season under our belt. We practiced and learnt in a 997 Cup car, which was sort of in at the deep end a bit. It was quite a difficult car to drive compared to a road car, which is what we'd been used to. And at the beginning of last season, this car came available. So yeah, we jumped in, and it's a great car to drive. It's so much easier than the 997 Cup car. Even still got the benefit of the air conditioning in it as well, which is nice.
Following free practice, the cars took to the 2.25-mile Silverstone International Circuit for a 30-minute qualifying session. The Aston Martin Vantage GT3 of JMH Automotive set the early benchmark, as Nigel Hudson posted a lap time of 65.3 seconds. But soon after, Wittkamski got down to a 64.1 and moved the Team MJC Ferrari onto provisional pole. That time stood until midway into the session, when Callum Lockie pipped him with a 64.0 in the number 7 FF Course Ferrari. Then a flurry of activity, as most teams put their pro drivers out for the final 10 minutes of the session. First to improve was Ross Wiley, as he put the MJC Ferrari back onto provisional pole with a time of 63.7 seconds. Then Javier Morcillo immediately went 2/10 quicker in the Neil Garner Motorsport Mosler, before posting a crushing 63.1 second lap in the dying seconds. The Callum Lockie David Mason Ferrari would start third, while Adam Wilcox, now in the JMH Aston, ended up with a 64.3 to secure 4th place. Dino Zamparelli set the fastest time in Class 2 to put the DMS Motorsport with FF Course Ferrari 5th overall, albeit just 9 thousandths of a second quicker than Johnny Molam in the sister number 9 Ferrari. A quartet of FF Course Run 458 Challenge cars was completed by number 23 Charlie Hollings and Mark Brough in 7th, and the number 22 outfit of Jamie Stanley and Laurent Demius. 9th fastest overall and posting the best Class 3 time was the SG Racing Porsche 997 of father and son Peter and Mark Cunningham, with the Team Hard Ginetta G55 of Tom Barley and Simon Rudd rounding out the top 10. The Top With Motorsports run Ginetta of Ed Moore was quickest in Class 4, while the Smart 4-4, driven by Rob Baker and Jonathan Swan, narrowly claimed the Class 5 pole. Here's confirmation of the top 10 times, with the Neil Garner Motorsport Mosler and the MJC Ferrari sharing the front row of the grid for race 1, and the FF Course Ferrari and JMH Automotive Aston Martin just behind.
What a great start.
Fantastic, yeah, I'm over the moon, yeah. I really wasn't expecting to be on pole position for the first round, given the cars and drivers that are here today. But it seems the circuit suits our old lady and can still put a fight. So yeah, a bit of a surprise really, but yeah, we're sitting on pole.
Finally, you're long-term supporters of Britcar. It's fantastic to see such great weather for round 1, but a really strong entry.
It's fantastic. It proves how good the work of the new Britcar is. It's working. It's a fantastic championship. It's really good atmosphere, good racing, logical, nothing posh, just pure racing, pure long distance strategy. It's got everything. You can bring any car you want to the championship and have fun with it and have a good fight for the class. So the surprise is that it's not full every single round.
Welcome back to Silverstone for the opening round of the 2017 Dunlop Endurance Championship. An impressive entry of over 30 GTs, sports cars and saloons on track for the first race of the day. The Class 1 Mosler of Javier Morcillo and Manuel Centrano qualifying on pole for what will be a 50-minute race. So to the left of your picture is the pole sitter, Javier Morcillo, on board as the Mosler gets the race and the season underway. Callum Lockie slots into 2nd place in the Ferrari. Adam Wilcox went 3rd, I reckon, in the Aston Martin. 3 abreast here amongst some of the Class 3 runners. Right behind is Darren Lewis with the onboard. Ahead is the red and white Ginetta of Ed Moore, one of the sprint class entries. Here they all come into Village Corner for the first time in the race. On the brakes as late as you dare. It's going to be a tight squeeze. Trying to come around the outside of us is Daniel Wiley there in the sister Team Hard Ginetta. There are 2 of the sprint class entries. That's number 17, the track focus car of Rick Nevison, getting ahead of Paul Calladine. And there you go, back on board now with Darren Lewis, trying to get his place back. Up ahead is Rob Young in the number 88 Porsche. And then you got the Ed Moore car, which is just ahead of them. And at the head of that little group, fighting just outside the top 10, was the black number 33 Angus Dudley Ginetta. Thundering past us now comes the BMW of number 57. This is Simon Baker in the Class 4 Mike Moss Motorsport entry. And he gets down the inside of Wiley. And now with the onboard camera, Darren Lewis does exactly the same thing. A bit of opportunistic driving then on the way into Stowe Corner. Already though, around the Silverstone International Circuit, just over a minute for the front runners to get through. And the gap at the end of the first lap is about 1.5 seconds back to Callum Lockie in 2nd place, 3rd place for Adam Wilcox, 4th place for Mike Wilds, 5th place is Whit Gamsky there in the MJC Ferrari on their return to the championship. And look at that, thundering through. That's the purple and yellow Ferrari of Leighton Clark from 26th up to 13th place at the end of the first lap of the race. So after a troubled qualifying, that car is one to watch coming through the order as the top 4 filter their way through. Here's the battle for 5th place. It includes Mark Cunningham in the black and yellow Porsche. One of the Ferraris going slowly there on the inside, sort of puff of smoke as well. There's Ed Moore, number 15, who's made a good start to the race. He's gained 3 positions on the first lap, and the Ferrari that was in trouble was number 23, and that's Mark Brough's 458 Challenge car, but he gets going again now. Now, we're going to get a replay on board with Darren Lewis, who's trying to get at the inside of the BMW to get his position back and just misses that stationary Ferrari. That was mighty close, and very good reactions from Darren to escape that. There then is Mike Wilds in the number 9 Ferrari 458, leading Class 2 currently. There is the overall race leader, Javier Morcillo, trying to build up as much margin as he can in the first part of this race. His teammate, gentleman driver, Manuel Centrano, is improving all the time, but I think it's fair to say he's not as quick as Javier, so he tries to get away from the pack. There are 2nd and 3rd, and there is Kevin Riley, number 27. His Class 1 Mosler contesting the sprint category, but a delayed start means that he's a lap down. Now here's a battle developing between the track-focused Porsche and the Eureka Motorsport BMW, which gets a better run coming out of Abbey Corner, and the Brazilian driver Adriano Medeiros powers past Rit Neverson to gain a place on the run down towards the complex. And just behind, this is a good battle for fourth place in the sprint category. You've got the Ginetta of Marcus Vivian. Just behind is the Porsche of Dave Bennett, and there is Rob Baker's Smart 4-4. Just behind them as well, you've got the VW Golf, which is currently being driven by Roland Hopkins. All of them fighting for separate championship points compared to those in the endurance category. Here then is number 12. This is Adam Wilcox in the newly acquired Aston Martin Vantage GT3. Fresh out of the box, but doing very well indeed in third place, given the team has had very little time to set up the car and find its sweet spots. Adam Wilcox hanging on to the tail of Callum Lockie's Ferrari. There they go, running through Abbey Corner in second and third. Nigel Hudson will take that car over for the second stint later on. Mark Cunningham leads Class 3 in the Porsche. Here's Tom Barley in the Ginetta trying to fend off Rob Young in the Porsche for second in class. On board with Darren Lewis now, and charging past, that's the Mac G Taranis, driven by Johnny McGregor. It's gone from 31st on the grid up to 13th in just a few laps after missing qualifying with noise-related issues. And when he went past the BMW, he put him off his stride, put him off his line, so Darren Lewis fires one down the inside into Village to gain a place back. We ride on board with Adriano Medeiros in the Eureka Motorsport BMW. They're making their first full campaign in the Britcar Championship. His teammate Rob Hudson based in Wellingborough, so this is his local circuit. Adriano is a multiple Formula Ford 1600 champion and race instructor. There is the Ferrari, run by FF Corsa and driven by Callum Lockie. The team is based just outside the gates here at Silverstone, so they have a big presence at this meeting. And we go back on board with Darren Lewis now in the Team Hard Ginetta, and he is trying to close down the black number 33 sister car driven by Angus Dudley, both of them fighting for Class 3 honours. A pair of them are battling for fourth place in Class 3, and look, this is the battle for second in Class 3, the blue and green Ginetta versus the black and fluorescent Porsche. Rob Young charging around the outside of Tom Barley to gain the place, and there is Ed Moore, number 15, hanging on to them. He's the leader of the sprint category in the Class 4 Ginetta, doing a tremendous job, the teenager. You just saw Mark Cunningham's black and yellow Porsche, which leads Class 3, and here we go. Is this squabble, and Ed Moore trying to get down the inside here, but he's going to have the wrong line for the left-hand kick, which follows. If he can hang on, he might just gain a place on the way to Chapel Corner. Just behind, a great battle between two BMWs for the Class 4 lead. Sam Alpas in the number 38 Atkins Motorsport car, right behind Simon Baker now. And we move to a replay from on board with Darren Lewis, fighting with Angus Dudley for third in Class 3. This is a few seconds ago on the way to Village Corner. The door opened up, and the last of the late breakers, he came through. That was the same time that Ed Moore and Tom Barley were battling just ahead into the same corner. Meantime, we've got one of the FF Course Ferraris in trouble, stopped on the start-finish line, more or less. That's Jamie Stanley in the 458 Challenge car. He's got it going again, but it's pulling away very slowly. There is the sister number 4 car. It's been a tremendous drive so far, because it's up from the back of the field from 26th on the grid to 6th place now for Leighton Clark. So his next target is going to be the number 5 Class 2 Bodomy Grimes Ferrari 458 Challenge car, which is catching pretty rapidly. And with damage to the front of the Ginetta, that is Tom Barley. He's just about fending off still Ed Moore in the number 15 TMS Ginetta, who gets a very good run heading towards Farm Curve, but can't quite get through. Catching them fast with the onboard camera, this is Darren Lewis. There he is in the number 285 Ginetta, having just on the previous lap dispatched of his teammate Angus Dudley, but the 4 of them covered by a second and a half now. On board much quicker through the link section and through Chapel Curve is the man with the onboard camera, Darren Lewis, so he's almost with them now as they go onto the Hanger Straight. There's the number 18 BMW 1M E82 of Mike Moss, which runs 4th in Class 2 at the moment. And look, the purple and yellow number 4 Ferrari of Leighton Clark already passed the number 5 machine of Bonomi Grimes. So those two now swapped around for 5th and 6th positions respectively. Leighton's brilliant charge through the field continues. Now back on board with Darren Lewis, who gets a good run coming out of Club Corner, and he's beginning to close in on Ed Moore. He pulls out of the slipstream. They're coming up to lap Daniel Woodard in the Class 5 leading Mini, and it's all a bit of a squabble on the way into Abbey Corner. He just gets out of the way. Good driving from Daniel to get out of the way of that scrap. Did anybody change position? No, but Ed Moore is now challenging around the outside of Tom Barley on the way into Village Corner. He won't get through there. He's got to be careful not to leave his own door open, because you've got Darren Lewis and Angus Dudley now right on the tail of the group. It's a four-way battle, and for 11th place as Darren Lewis finds a gap, tries to get his foot in the door, gets a tighter line coming out of Chapel Corner and moves ahead of Ed Moore. They're second in the sprint class. Behind Ed Moore is the number 6 BMW of Neil Garnham. He's sharing also the number 88 Porsche with Rob Young, so they're both driving 2 cars today. Third is number 92, that's in the sprint category for the Ginetta of Paul Calladine. So there is 5th in the foreground, Leighton Clark from the more or less the back of the field. There in 6th place is Bonamy Grimes in the Ferrari, and 7th now from the very back, from 31st, is Johnny McGregor, absolutely flying in the family run Tyrannus. And the sports prototype gets a good run coming out of Farm Curve, closes up under braking, looks at the inside of the Ferrari, but it's tight, and he'll have to sit pretty on the way through the link, and then perhaps have another opportunity to attack on the way onto the Hanger Straight. There is the Class 3 leading Porsche of Mark Cunningham. Dad Pete will take over for the second stint in this race, but not far behind them. Look, there is Rob Young in the 88 Porsche. He's going to get into the number 6 BMW after the pit stops. Goodness knows how WDC Motorsport are going to work the logistics of the pit stops with all of that, as we go back on board now with Darren Lewis homing in on his teammate Tom Barley. This is for second in Class 3, finds a gap, and again down the inside into Village. Ed Moore is going to try and follow him through. Look, in the red and white Ginetta run by Tockwith Motorsports, so they're still absolutely together, but going slowly after a tremendous drive through the order up to 7th place. That does not look right, does it? That is the Tyrannus of Johnny McGregor, which is ailing back on board with Darren Lewis as Ed Moore gets past both of them on the way into Stowe Corner at the end of the Hanger Straight. What a battle this is turning into between the 4 of them, but I'm afraid it looks like game over for Johnny McGregor. We've just had the first round of pit stops, and Manuel Centrano is now aboard that race-leading Mosler run by Neil Garner Motorsport. His teammate Javier Morceo had handed him a 7-second lead before the pit stops. It's now grown, it's now doubled to 14 seconds. There is the second place car, David Mason, losing a bit of time in the number 7 Ferrari, which Callum Lockie ran in the first stint. And this is for third place. It's absolutely neck and neck. It's the blue Ferrari of Dino Zamparelli up the inside of Nigel Hudson's Aston Martin. You've got Charlie Hollings flying in the number 23 Ferrari as well, but 2 laps down and trying to catch everybody up in Class 3. There is the sprint category leader. Ed Moore is driving the entire 50-minute race solo. He is well clear now of Paul Calladine, who is up to second place in that class. And now on board with Tom Knight, who has taken over the 285 Ginetta and is right onto the tail look of Pete Cunningham's Porsche. This is for the Class 3 lead, and through he goes. Simon Rudd has taken over the sister number 24 Ginetta and is right with them as well, and he gets through too. That's on the way to Chapel Corner. So first and second in class now for the Team Hard cars as they make their way onto the Hanger Straight here. Underneath the bridge they will go, and that's the SG Porsche of Pete Cunningham with more power in a straight line coming back and splitting the pair of them, and Johnny Molam's Ferrari lapping everybody. That's the car, the number 5 car, which runs in 5th place. Johnny absolutely charging along as you might expect as one of the most experienced and successful drivers on the grid. Through the traffic of the Class 5 VW they go. There is Charlie Hollings though, who is several seconds a lap quicker than that battle between the Ginettas and the Porsche, and he's back up to 12th place overall now after the car had troubles very early on in the race. So there is Tom Knight taking over from Darren Lewis, who pulled off some very nice moves, particularly at Village Corner in the first part of the race. Back on board with Simon Rudd as Manuel Centrano, the race leader, puts another lap on everybody. That's coming onto the International Pit Straight. And look at the extra grunt that the Mosler has. He now goes down the inside to put a lap on the Porsche of Pete Cunningham, which has to get off the throttle momentarily. And this is the chance then maybe for Simon Rudd. He is homing in like an Exocet missile to try and get second in class. He does it down the inside and almost goes into the back of the race leader. That was as late and as close as you get, but it was very nicely done, wasn't it, by Simon Rudd? Everybody at Neil Garner Motorsport, no doubt, having kittens for a moment there, but he pulled it off perfectly. As we go back now to the battle for second place. So it's the Class 1 red number 7 Ferrari of David Mason being homed in upon about 5 seconds a lap quicker is Dino Zamparelli. That's the Class 2 leader looking down the inside for second place overall, but Dino can't get through there. Late on the brakes, to his credit there, was David Mason. At 4th place, falling away from them a little bit, but going well on its debut is the Aston Martin, driven now by Nigel Hudson. Two more Ferraris run 5th and 6th, just flashing through shot the number 5 Johnny Molam car, which is 2nd in class, and there in 6th place overall it's Ross Wiley, who, like Dino Zamparelli, has come from the Porsche Carrera Cup GB to race here this weekend. Back out after stopping for several laps. It is the Tyrannus, which was driven so well in the early stages by Johnny McGregor, and there in 2nd place in the sprint class is the Ginetta of Paul Calladine. The track-focused Porsche of Rick Neverson out of contention for the sprint category after a mid-race coming together with what was one of the front-running Class 3 cars. Rob Young's number 88 Porsche is wrestling away at the steering wheel. Here is Simon Rudd absolutely fighting that Ginetta to try and get past Tom Knight, who's a bit deep into the corner. At a Club Day Cup, back onto the international pit straight, still nose to tail. There is Dean Gibbs in the Whitebridge Aston Martin, which is taken over from Chris Murphy. They are 5th in class ahead of this car, number 11. 6th in class for Toby Byrne in the Team Hard Racing Ginetta. Oh, and that going very slowly down the Hanger Straight is Graham Lucking, number 4 in the FF Course Ferrari, which Leighton Clark had taken from the back of the field and was running up in 7th place. A real shame for them late on in the race. This is your race leader, Manuel Cintrano. He's at Village Corner. There is Dino Zamparelli in 2nd place at Abbey Corner. He's catching up to 5 seconds a lap, but there's only 10 minutes to go. It's going to be very, very tight, this. And this is going to be tight as well as Ross Wiley squeezes down the inside of David Mason. He's already dispatched of Nigel Hudson, so he's up to 3rd place now. Well, there's certainly been no shortage of action in the opening round of the championship as we head into the closing laps. There's the RM Racing VW Golf. Matt Slayer aboard it. That's 3rd within Class 5 in the sprint division. The Ginetta of Marcus Vivian there, the yellow 58 car, is leading the category. It has just lapped the number 52 smart car driven by Jonathan Swan, which is 2nd in class. That car is flying, the BMW, but several laps down, I'm afraid. Jonathan Evans now drives the Moss Motorsport E82, but it had problems mid-race. Now, we go on board with Simon Rudd in the Team Hard Ginetta, trying to find a way past his teammate Tom Knight. They are 2nd and 3rd in the Class 3 because they've both been overtaken by the Ferrari of Charlie Hollings, and they're about to go side by side after nearly 50 minutes of racing. It's still neck and neck. On board with Tom Knight. He can't do anything but watch his teammate glide past on the way into Stowe Corner. He picked up a better tow. But now, of course, he will have the chance to try and find a way past, perhaps even as soon as the entry to Vale Corner, although the inside line is covered here. Simon Rudd will take a tight line, he'll go over the curbs. Look at the pair of them, absolutely neck and neck here as they make their way out through Club Corner onto the international pit straight. You go back on board with Tom Knight, but Simon Rudd gets a better exit from the corner. Their 4th in class is Pete Cunningham, the SG Racing Porsche, just falling away by a few seconds, but still within sight should anything happen. And there is your race leader, Dino Zamparelli. Managed to find a way past the Manuel Cintrano Mosler with a couple of laps to go and has already charged well clear of it. So there in 2nd place is the Neil Garner Motorsport Mosler. They won a thrilling into the night race at Brands Hatch to round out the 2016 season. But it's going to be 2nd place here because the flag comes out and it's a win for Dino Zamparelli and Mike Wilds. And they're in the background taking the checkered flag to win the sprint class. Tremendous drive from Ed Moore for Tockworth Motorsports. Kamsky and Wiley complete the podium with the Johnny Molam Ferrari and the Nigel Hudson Aston both passing David Mason in the closing laps. After a great comeback, there's a Class 3 endurance win for the Mark Brough and Charlie Hollings Ferrari, with Sam Allpass and Clint Bardwell winning Class 4, and Daniel Woodard and Davy Brill's Mini taking Class 5. Ed Moore, Paul Calladine and the BMW of Neil Garnham and Rob Young on the podium in the sprint class.
My co-driver, Mike Wilds, did a really, really good start to the race and kept it clean and did some really good laps, and then just jumped in into the Ferrari and just had some fun with it. And I was kind of kept updated with the pit wall, kind of where I was, and then when I got through in the lead, I just kind of chilled out and made sure I nursed, well, not nursed it home, but brought it home nice and safe.
Have you had much time before this weekend to acclimatise to the car?
No, I've only done a couple of days in it. It's completely different to the Porsche, the driving style. It's all very new to me still. But it's 4 wheels, it's got an engine, so I just kind of, you know, go as fast as I can. And I think I'm just about getting there. You know, it's carbon brakes, so it's different braking style, and it's all very different, but it's all still very fun, and I'm enjoying it.
With race 1 complete, there was a chance for drivers, teams, guests and sponsors to eat, drink and relax in the Britcar hospitality unit. An important base and social hub for everyone involved in the championship. But once the cars were back from their post-race checks, the teams went straight into prepping and in some cases fixing them, ready for the afternoon's 2-hour race. One of the teams that had suffered problems in the first encounter was the Woodard Racing organisation, their John Cooper Works Mini grinding to a halt just a few metres past the finish line.
In the end of race one, we had a slight overheating issue, and because the temperatures were rising so much, as soon as we crossed the line, David was asked to stop the car just to make sure everything's all right. We've now just gone through all the pipes, water pipes, make sure they're okay, which they are going to be, and we're getting ready for race two, so it'll be absolutely fine for race two.
Otherwise, it seems to be running well.
Yeah, we've made quite a lot of improvements on the car over the winter, mostly on the handling and making the car lighter. And we've lost about 50 kilos, which is not bad. We've replaced the glass to plastic windows. We've even changed the wing mirrors. We saved, as stupid as it sounds, 2 kilos by just changing the wing mirrors from the standard road mirror, car mirrors to race mirrors. So that, you know, it's silly little things like that that have been, you know, most helpful.
How do you feel you've developed as a driver, you know, a year under your belt now in Britcar?
Yeah, definitely. The experience for endurance racing is just not as last year. There needs to be more in fitness to be able to maintain, to keep the same level of consistency as a driver. The championship as well is also looking much stronger and a lot healthier. The amount of cars on the grid this year is just phenomenal to see.
How did you find the international version of Silverstone circuit?
Yeah, I love it. It's all about having big cojones in the first corner, isn't it? Like minimum braking and more acceleration. It's just because you can't see the exit, but you just got to trust yourself and your training beating up to this. And yeah, I love this circuit. It's quite good. It's obviously the back end of the circuit, less corners but more fun.
A few garages down the pit lane, the Mac G Racing squad had been busy trying to solve the problem, which halted the progress of their Tiranas after Johnny McGregor had taken the car from the back of the grid up to 7th place.
The car cut out, we restarted it, but because I pulled off the circuit, they didn't let me back on. So we lost a lot of time there, unfortunately.
And have you developed the car much over the winter since we last saw you?
I made a few changes, mainly around the aero, a bit on the front end geometry. Feel the difference really. It's made a big difference to the car, big improvement. So we'll see how it goes in the second race.
Some strong drivers out there this weekend, though.
There's some strong drivers and some quick cars. So yeah, the pace is pretty hot, and it's a warm old day. So the guys with the highly developed cars that are a bit more comfortable in the car will probably get an advantage from that near the end.
Another car that had been running well until suffering problems was the number 57 Moss Motorsport BMW, a Class 4 leading car at one point in the first race.
John, you've been out for a race today. You weren't even expecting to be here from what you said to me earlier.
No, I was instructing at Thruxton yesterday, and I sort of got back in the car expecting a nice leisurely journey home, and I checked the phone, got a call saying, do you fancy coming driving a Britcar race tomorrow? And obviously I'm a racing driver, so I said yes. Blasted up here last night. First time I'd seen the car was this morning. First time I drove it was qualifying, but we put it P1 in class, which was wonderful. So we were really, really pleased with the car and everything. Up until 4 laps from home when a loud bang and the smell of oil signified the diff had cried no more.
Your impressions of the championship being positive so far?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, it looks like we've got, I think, a capacity grid here for this weekend, which is really great. It looks like Claire and Rob have built a fantastic championship. Obviously, complete newbie to it this weekend, but first impressions really good. One last little thank you. I have to say thank you very much to my girlfriend, who reminded me I should check my phone last night, otherwise I wouldn't be here. So thank you very much, Rachel.
Welcome back to Silverstone for our coverage from the opening round of the 2017 Dunlop Endurance Championship. Race 2 is about to get underway, the grid based on the race 1 results. So the blue Ferrari of Mike Wilds leads the charge into Abbey Corner for the first time. Excellent start for the Aston Martin of Adam Wilcox, who goes from the 3rd row of the grid straight to 2nd place. Manuel Cintrano in the most has to get well out of the way, and then he's got Ferraris ganging up on him as well as they make their way down to Village Corner for the first time in the race. 3rd place is going to be Callum Lockie, number 7, from 2nd down to 4th for Cintrano in the Mosler. Then it's Witt Kamsky, number 43, in 5th place. Some of the sprint class entries there, the Porsche of number 17, Rick Neverson, just ahead of Kevin Riley in the black Mosler. And in Class 5, Rob Baker's smart car just ahead of Matt Slay in the VW. Meanwhile, this is Rob Hudson, who is one of several drivers that were forced to start the race from the pit lane, giving everybody else a head start in the Eureka Motorsport BMW. And there too is another of them, number 57, Simon Baker, in the Moss Motorsport car. Onto the start of lap number 3. We've got a new race leader. Callum Lockie in the red FF Course Ferrari has moved ahead now of the JMH Aston Martin, being driven by Adam Wilcox. On the previous lap, they both dispatched of the pole sitter, the Class 2, the less powerful Class 2 Ferrari of Mike Wilds. That's still running in 3rd place, but falling away as they make their way through Village and towards the link. There is Mike Wilds in 3rd position, still well clear in his class. Already coming up to traffic because of those cars which started late from the pit lane. And this is another excellent start from Ed Moore, number 15, the TMS Ginetta, moving ahead there of Mark Bruff's Ferrari. He's the sprint class leader, is Ed Moore. That also puts him up, I reckon, to 9th place overall. Kevin Riley's Mosler second in the sprint class, number 92 there. Paul Calladine just behind him. And here, having to work his way from the back of the field for the 2nd time in succession, it's the yellow Taranis of number 8, Johnny McGregor, but he's slicing his way already through the lesser powerful cars. Here's Rob Hudson in the BMW, and that's the Ferrari of Leighton Clark, another one working its way from the back of the field. And then BMW from Class 4 of Simon Baker takes an opportunity to come by, so that was for class position in Class 4. There is Manuel Cintrano in the Moser in 4th place, but he's starting to be caught now by Barnaby Grimes in the FF Course number 5 Ferrari. They make their way through Vale Corner. Back on board now with Rob Hudson, so he lost a place as he was being overtaken by the quick Ferrari of Leighton Clark, which had to start at the back of the field due to its DNF, and now he's trying to chase back down Simon Baker, who whipped past him as he had to get off the throttle and out of the way on the way into Abbey Corner. So those two BMWs battling for Class 4 position, and smoke coming from the back of the SG Racing Porsche of the Cunninghams. That is currently leading Class 3 and does not look healthy. And for 2nd in Class 3, it's Tom Barley in the blue and green Ginetta trying to fend off his Team Hard teammate, Toby Byrne, there as they weave their way up towards Abbey Corner. So another intense battle amongst the Ginettas, but an early retirement, I'm afraid, for the Woodard Mini, which stopped after just 4 laps. Here's this Class 5 battle. Rob Baker in the Smart 4-4 is still just a couple of seconds clear of the VW. And here we've got now up into 4th place overall, Barnaby Grimes, the number 5 Ferrari, luck is ahead of Manuel Cintrano in the Mosler, but still with the very quick Javier Morcillo to get in for the 2nd stint. Mind you, you've got Johnny Molam to get into that number 5 car, who's a mega driver as well. Meanwhile, for 2nd in Class 4, a good run coming out of Stowe Corner for Rob Hudson. He spies a gap on the way into Vale Corner. He's got the inside line here, clips the curb. He's ahead of Simon Baker, so he gains the place back as he makes his way through Club and gets a bit leery coming on the power, but controls it beautifully. Now remember, the sprint class cars are only doing the first 50 minutes of the race, so this is the RM Racing VW Golf. Matt Slay handing over to Roland Hopkins, and they're making their Britcar debut, doing a fine job so far. Been having a close scrap with the smart car. Out front in the overall race lead, that's Callum Lockie, who's now well clear of the Aston Martin of Adam Wilcox. That car, to remind you, is completely new to the team. They've barely had any time to test the car, so doing an excellent job in 2nd place overall. Ed Moore, who leads the sprint class, goes back out. Then he's driving solo here today for Top With Motorsports. We saw smoke pouring from the back of the Cunningham's Porsche. That, I'm afraid, is in the garage from the Class 3 lead, and also in for an early pit stop. That's the number 57 Simon Baker Moss Motorsport car, which was running 3rd. So there is the production category leader. That is Sam Olpas, another one that's come through the field, having started from the pit lane and from the very back of the grid up to 12th place. An excellent drive for the WDC Porsche of Rob Young. Just behind it is Stowe Witkamski in the Ferrari. And there is Mike Moss, number 18. He's another one that's come through from the back of the field in the BMW. Likewise, Angus Dudley had to start 30th on the grid in the Ginetta, both of them having had problems in race 1. And up into the top 6 now for Johnny McGregor. This again is another one right from the back of the field after Johnny suffered problems with the Taranis in race 1. He'd done very well up until that point as well. And this is Dave Bennett in the Bespoke Cars Porsche, going slowly, and I reckon with a right rear puncture. Yes, so he's had a problem there, and that car has gone past the pit lane entrance. Actually, looking at the debris, it's a broken wheel rather than a puncture. And he's going to stop in quite a precarious position here. So this might bring out the safety car. We're also at the end of the sprint category now. And here for the final time into the same part of the course comes Ed Moore. It's been another supreme drive for the teenager. And Top With Motorsports are going to take victory for the 2nd time today in the sprint category. Paul Calladine in 2nd place, and Rick Neverson and Sean Cooper for Track Focus rounding out the top 3 in the end in the Porsche Cayman. So the safety car is out. That means there's going to be a flurry of pit stops because we're at that point of the race. Manuel Centrano comes in. Javier Morcillo is going to take over as the Dave Bennett car is winched to safety by the recovery team. Here then is Tom Barley getting out of the Team Hard Ginetta, leading its class. Johnny Mollema and Dino Zamparelli and everybody at FF Course trying to figure out their strategy now as Simon Rudd gets into the Ginetta for Team Hard, and on board the Eureka Motorsport BMW. This is Rob Hudson struggling to get the car fired up, so he is cruising off the road, and I'm afraid after going well, he's into retirement. Meanwhile, back out onto the course for Javier Morcillo. So during that safety car period, we saw several teams coming in and out of the pits. That's because you can only put 25 litres of fuel on at any one time behind the safety car. The Mosler made 3 pit stops in the end. David Mason is leading for FF Course in the Ferrari, but the gap has been reduced significantly by Nigel Hudson, who's really getting to grips now with this Aston Martin in second place. Meanwhile, here's the view as you ride with Simon Rudd in the class-leading Team Hard Ginetta. And back in the pits, we can now hear from Adam Wilcox.
No, it was good. You know, I think we're about a few tenths off the pace yet, but that will come with just timing the car and a bit of setup. At the start of the race today, I think I'd done 30-odd laps in it, something like that, and Nigel probably about the same. You know, so it's quite a challenge to just take a new car and try and run it at the front. Obviously, it's disappointing not to run directly at the front, but I'm sure we'll get there eventually.
Back on track, a lot of laps lost, I'm afraid, with the WDC Porsche. There is Charlie Hollings in the now reclassified Class 2 number 23 Ferrari. That is up to 3rd place overall. There in 4th place overall is the flying Johnny Mollema in car number 5. And this is the battle for 2nd in the Class 3 category. 2 Ginettas, 2 teammates. 285 is Tom Knight. Right behind him is Daniel Wiley, number 11. And they are split by just about half a second as they make their way onto the international pit straight. And for the overall lead of the race, Nigel Hudson has caught right up now to David Mason's Ferrari. Class 4 is being led by Atkins Motorsport. It's Sam Alpas.
It's a little bit slippery out there, actually. I was hoping for a bit more pace on it, but the tyres were suffering a bit, and I just didn't have as much grip as I would have liked, and I've seen in the past. So perhaps that was the same for everyone, and I suspect it was. So perhaps I shouldn't complain too much.
Into the closing stages, Nigel Hudson's Aston Martin leads. 2nd place now for this car, Johnny Mollema in the FF Course Ferrari. 3rd place is number 23, Charlie Hollings. He's gained 1 and lost 1. He's dropped behind Johnny Mollema, but they've both got ahead now of David Mason in the number 7 FF Course Ferrari in 4th place. We've still got this titanic battle going on for the Class 3 lead, and now Daniel Wiley's number 11 machine ahead, just of the 285 Tommy Knight car. Tommy, though, gets a better run coming out through club and snatches the place back. Well, let's hear now from their team boss.
Must be very proud when you see all these young drivers that you're developing coming through and doing really well.
Yeah, especially because probably almost all of the drivers that are racing with us probably wouldn't be racing if it wasn't for our help and our team sponsors and partners. So it's about making it possible to get people on track, because everyone knows how tough it is for motorsport to raise the budget, to appeal to sponsors. So with what we've got going on, there's a lot that we can do for our partners where there's so much benefit, value for money, and ultimately a return on investment. We're growing. We're approaching 40 drivers now with over 30 cars in-house, so it's getting interesting, but the bigger it's getting, the easier it's becoming, because we've got lots of new and exciting partners and drivers all working with each other.
Back on track and more drama. The race-leading Aston Martin has had to serve a drive-through penalty for what's been described as overtaking under yellows earlier on in the race. So there is the new race leader. It's the red Johnny Mollema Ferrari for FF Course. He now works his way in between this entertaining Class 3 battle that we've had for 2nd in the category between the 2 Team Hard teammates. We've also lost Javier Morcillo in the Mosler following a spin after he and Ross Wiley in the Ferrari were making their way through traffic. They're down to 2nd place overall, still leading Class 1 though, for poor old Nigel Hudson. Another Aston in strife there, picking up a 5-second penalty is the Whitebridge Motorsport Aston, and there is the Class 3 leader, Simon Rudd, on course for his first Britcar victory, his first weekend of the championship. There in 4th place now is number 7, David Mason. They led the race earlier on with Callum Lockie. Still comfortably leading Class 4, that's Clint Bardwell, who is now aboard the Atkins Motorsport with Snow's BMW, and a couple of laps down, but 2nd in the category, that is John Watt in the number 57 Moss Motorsport entry. So making his way for the final time on the way into Vale and then Club. Johnny Molam is about to pick up a Class 2 win, but most importantly, an overall victory. The Class 3 leader, Simon Rudd, is just ahead of him. The checkered flag is readied. And for the second time today, it is a Class 2 FF Course Ferrari that wins. Bonamy Grimes and Johnny Molam. And into the gravel trap right at the end of the race. That's Tommy Knight, who had coming together with his teammate in that Class 3 battle. Confirmation of the result, with the Ferrari of Callum Lockyer and David Mason excluded post-race for technical infringement. And here's a look at your class winners after a thoroughly entertaining day.
I've got to give Johnny a lot of credit. We've done a lot of work, a lot of training, a lot of testing. All through the winter we've been testing, and Johnny's really brought my driving on leaps and bounds. Red River Sport's been fantastic, so brilliant.
Johnny, how's he been? Has he been a good student? Obviously, he's learning fast.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can tell when someone gets in the car. When he very first got in, we did a track day, and I could tell within 3 laps that he had natural talent. And but even then, he surprised me. His learning curve has been meteoric, how quickly, and he's driven GT3 cars in testing, driven LMP3 cars in testing, got to grips with it really quickly, so clearly got a lot of natural ability. Where it's he's learning is not so much the lap time, it's dealing with traffic, dealing with race situations, starts, cold tyres, all of the stuff that no matter how naturally gifted you are, you need to do it to learn it, you need the experience. So that's kind of where he's still got quite a lot to learn, but in terms of the speed, it's just coming quite easily to him, to be fair.
So many congratulations to Johnny Molam and Bonamy Grimes, our Race 2 winners. The next round of the championship takes us to Snetterton. We'll see you there.